Alright, hi, Unlimited Power, the new science of personal achievement. Anthony Robbins, Free Press, New York, London, Toronto, Sydney. Dedicated to the greatest power within you, your power to love and all those who help you to share the magic. Most of all, for me, Jarek, Joshua, Jolie, Tyler, Becky, and my mom. Yeah. Anthony Robbins. Acknowledgement. Contents. Section 1. Modeling human experience. The commodity of kings. The difference. 2. The difference that makes the difference. 3. Power of the state. 4. Birth of excellence belief. 5. 7 lies of success. 6. Mastering your mind. How to run your brain. 7. The syntax of success. 8. How to elicit someone's strategy. 9. Physiology, the avenue of excellence. 10. Energy, the fuel of excellence. Section 2. The limited success formula. 9. Limitation, disengage. What do you want? 12. The power to precision. 13. The magic of rapport. 14. Distinction, excellence, meta programs. 15. How to handle resistance and solve problems. 16. Reframing the power of perspective. 17. Anchoring yourself to success. In Section 3, Leadership, the challenge for the excellence. 18. The value of hierarchies, ultimate judgment of success. 19. 5 keys of wealth and happiness. 10. Trend creation, the power of persuasion. 21. Living excellence, human challenge. Glossary, Robbins Research Institute. Forward. Introduction. We're going to start out with Chapter 1, Success. Section 1, the model of human excellences. Chapter 1, the commodity of kings. The great end of life is knowledge but action. Thomas Henry Huxley. I heard about him for many years. He said that a young, wealthy, healthy, happy, successful. I had to see for myself. I wanted to check closely if the left of the television studio. I followed him over the next few weeks, observing as he counseled everyone from president of the country to a phobic. I saw the debate the dietitians, trained executives, works with the athletes, learning disabled kids. He seemed incredibly happy and deeply in love with his wife as they traveled together across the country, around the world, and when they were through it, it was time to jet back to San Diego to spend a few days at home with their family in the castle overlooking the Pacific Ocean. How was it that 25-year-old kid with only a high school education could have accomplished so much in such a short period of time? After all, this guy was only 3 years ago, having been living in a 400 square foot bachelor apartment, washing his dishes in the bathtub. How did he get to extremely unhappy person, 30 pounds overweight, with floundering relationships, limited prospects, to a centered, healthy, respected individual with great relationship and the opportunity of unlimited success? It seemed so incredible, yet the thing amazed me. Most of I realized that he is me. His story is my own. I'm certainly not saying that my life is success as all. Obviously, we have all the different dreams and ideas of what we want to create our life. In addition, very clear that who you know, where you go, where you own are not the true measure of the personal success. To me, success is an ongoing process, striving to become more. It's the opportunity to continually grow emotional, socially, spiritual, physiology, intellectually, financial, while contributing to some positive way to others. The road to success is always under construction, progressive courses, not ended to be reached. The point of my story is simple. By applying principles you will learn in this book, I will be able to change only the way I felt about myself. But as a result, I was producing in my life, I was able to do so in major, measurable ways. The purpose of this book is to share with you what made the difference in changing my life for the better within my concern. It is my sincere hope that you find the technology, strategies, and skills and philosophies taught within these pages to empowering for you as been for me. The power of magical transformation in our life with the greatest dreams lies waiting within us. It's a time to unleash it. While I look at the page, I was able to dream into my present day life, I can't help feeling about almost unbelievable sense of gratitude and awe. Yet I am certainly far from unique. The fact is, we live in the age where when many people are able to achieve wondrous things almost overnight to achieve the success of the world. Success that would have been unimaginable in early times. Look at Steve Jobs, was a kid in blue jeans with no money who took an idea with a home computer and built a Fortune 500 company faster than anyone in history. Look at Ted Turner. He took a medium from barely existent cable television, created an empire. Look at people in the entertainment industry like Steven Spielberg, Bruce Springsteen with a business like with Lee, Osha, Ross Perot. What do they have in common? Utterly astounding, prodigious success. The answer, of course, is power. Power is a very emotional word. People's response is to our varied. Some people with the power with a negative connotation. Some people just lust after power. Other people tainted by it as if they were something venal or suspect. How much power do you want? How much power do you think is right for you to obtain or develop? What does the power really mean to you? I don't think of the power in terms of the conquering people. I don't think of it as something or to be imposed. I'm not advocating that you should either. The kind of power seldom lasts, but you should realize that the power in constant world you shape your perceptions or someone shapes them for you. You do what you want to do or you respond to someone else's plan for you. The ultimate power is the ability to produce the result of the desire most of the creative value from other process and other parts of the power is the ability to change your life with the shape of the perception to the made the things work for you and not against you. Real power is shared and not imposed. The ability to define human needs is to fulfill them, both your needs and the needs of the people that you care about, and an ability to direct your own personal kingdom, your own thought process, your own behavior, so you produce these precise results you desire. Throughout history, power of control our lives has taken many different contradictory forms. At the earliest time, power was simply the result of physiology. He who was the stronger, the fastest, had the power to direct his own life as well as the lives of those around him. As civilization developed, power resulted from heritage. A king surrounded himself with the symbols of his realm, ruled with an unmistakable authority. Others could derive power by the association with them. Then in early days with the industrial age of the capital with the power, those had assets to dominate with the industrial process. All those who have still play a role had better have the capital not to have it, and better that have physical strength than not to. However, today is one of the largest sources of the powers derived with specialized knowledge. Most of us have heard but not have living in the information age is no longer primarily with industrial cultural, but the communication one. We live in a time with the new idea of the movements of the concept change the world almost daily. Whether as profound with the quantum physics or mundane is the best marketed hamburger. If there anything that is characterized with the modern world, it's massive and almost unimaginable flow of the information thereby of change. From books and movies to boom boxes and computer chips, this new information comes from the blizzard of data to be seen and felt and heard. In society, those who have the information that means the community have the king and used to have unlimited power. John Keith Galbraith has written, money is what fueled the industrial society, but in the information society, the fuel power is the knowledge. One has not come to see the new class structure divided by those who have the information and those who have the function. Out of ignorance, the new class has its power not from money, but not from land, but from knowledge. The exciting thing to note is that the key to power today available to us all. If it weren't for the king's medieval times, you might have a great deal of difficulty becoming one. If you didn't have the capital with the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, the odds are amassing it seem very slim indeed. But today, any kind of blue jean can create corporations that change the world, modern world. Information into the commodity of the kings. This action for the certain forms for the specialized knowledge for the transformation of themselves and in many ways an entire world. We're left with the obvious question, surely the United States with the civilized kinds of specialized knowledge needed to transform quality over life is available to everyone, and it's in every bookstore, every video store, every library. It will get from the speeches, seminars, and courses. All we want is to see with the bestseller list is full with the prescription and personal excellence. The 1 minute manager of the search for the excellence, the mega trends. What do they teach you? The Harvard Business School, Bridgecraft, forever the list Goes on and on and on. Information is there, by the way. Do you use some people to fabulous numbers while others just scrape by it? Why are they all empowered, healthy, successful? Truth is, even in the information age, information is not enough. All we need for the word ideas and the positive thinking we would have ponies that were when we were kids, and we would all be living our dream life now. Action unites to every great success. Action produces results. Knowledge is only potential power until it comes into the hand of someone who knows how to get himself to make an effective action. In fact, the literal definition of the word power is the ability to act. What you do in life is determined by how you communicate to yourself with the modern world. The quality of life is the quality of the communication. When we picture and say with ourselves how we move with our use of muscle with our body or facial expression will determine how much we want to know we'll use. Often we get caught in a mental trap seeing with enormously with successful people and thinking that they are where they are because they have some special gift. A closer look shows that the greatest gift of the extraordinary successful people have over average person is the ability to get themselves to take action. If the gift that any of us can develop within ourselves, after all the other people to some of the talent, well, Steve Jobs did, but the people the other than Ted Turner could have figured out with the cable had enormous economic potential, but Turner and Jobs were able to take action, and by doing so they changed many of the experiences today. We all produce two forms of communication from which the experience of our lives are fashioned. First, we conduct internal communication, those things we picture and say and feel within ourselves. Second, we experience with external communication, word tonalities, facial expression, body posture, physical action, communicate to the world. But every communication will make it an action with a cause and set in motion. All communication has some kind of effect with ourselves on others. Communication is powerful. Those who have mastered the effect of usually change their experiences over the world's experiences over them. All behavior, feelings, find with the original root to some of the form of the communication. Those who have the effect with our thoughts, with feeling, actions. The majority of us of those who have know with the tool of power. Think of people who have changed the world: John F. Kennedy, Thomas Jefferson, Martin Luther King Jr., Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Winston Churchill, Mahatma Gandhi, and much grimmer vein would think of Hitler. Which of all of the men have the common which for the master communicators? They were able to take their vision, whether to transport people into space or to create with a hate-filled Third Reich, to communicate into them others such congruency that they influenced the way of the masses thought with and acted. Therefore, their communication power to change the world. In fact, isn't this also what Spielberg and Springsteen with ICO or Fonda, Reagan, apart from all the others, if they had not mastered the tool of human communication or influence, just as those people are able to move the masses, the communication is a tool we use to make ourselves. The level of the communication mastery with the external world will determine your level of success for the other, personally, emotional, successful, and financial. Most important level of success experienced internally with the happiness, joy, with the ecstasy, love, and anything else you with the desire, with the direct result, with the how, with the communicate to yourself, how to feel that it is not result with what's happening in your life. It is your interpretation of what's happening. Some successful people lives have shown us over and over again the quality of our life determined not with what happens to us, but rather what we do with what happens. You are one who decides how to feel with the act based on the ways you choose to perceive your life, and nothing has any of the means except for the meaning of what we give them. And that must have the turn with the process of interpretation with the automatic, but we can take with the power back with immediately changing our experience of the world. The book is taking with the kind of the masses focus for the congruent action with the lead of the overwhelming results. And the fact that I were to say you two words what this book is about, I'd like to say producing results. Think about it. Isn't this what you're really interested in? Maybe you want to change with how you feel about yourself and your world. Maybe you would like the better, but the communicator develop the more loving relationship, learn more of the rapidly become healthier, even more money. You can create with all these things with yourself, the much more with the effect of the use information in this book. Before you can produce new results, however, you must realize that you're already producing results that you just may not be the result that you desire. Most of us think of the mental state that most of it goes on with our mind, things that happen outside our control, but truth is control of the mental activities, the behaviors with a degree you never believed possible before. If you're depressed, you created a producer of the show with a call with a depression ecstatic. You created too. It is important to remember the emotion of the depression did not happen to you, but it do not catch the depression. You create it like every other result in your life through the special mental physical actions. In order to be depressed, you have to view your life in specific ways. You have to have certain things in yourself in just right tones of voice. You had to adopt a specific posture, breathing pattern. For example, if you used to be depressed, help with tremendously collapse your shoulders. Look down a lot, speaking a sound, sad song, toning voice, thinking of the world's possible scenarios of life that also help. If you throw biochemistry into the turmoil through the poor diet and excessive alcohol and drug use, you assist your body in creating low blood sugar, thus virtually guaranteeing the depression. My point is simple to take an effect with to create with the depression. Hard work, whereas specific types of the actions some people have created to stay with it so often though but easy for them to produce. In fact, only often they link the pattern internal communication to all kinds of external events. Some people may get secondary gains attention to the others, empathy and love and so on, but they adopt the style with the communication natural state of living. Others have lived so long that it actually feels comfortable that they become identified within the state. We have higher and change mental physical action, thereby immediately changing our emotions and behaviors. Alright, you can become ecstatic immediately, adopting to the point of view with the creative emotion, with the picture of your mind, with the kind of things you create with this feeling. You change with the tone, with the content, with the internal dialogue within yourself that you can adopt with the specific posture of the breathing pattern, with the create, with the shape, with the in your body, with the follow. We will experience the ecstasy. If you wish for the concentrate, you must simply change with the physical, mental actions to match with the shape, with the compassion required, with some true love, and any other emotion you might think of the profit, the produce, the emotional state, with the managing, with the internal communication as being similar to a director's job, with the produce, the precise results he wants, with the director of the movie that manipulates what he see and hear. If he wants to be scared, he might turn up the sound and splash and some of the same special effects on the screen with just in the right moment. If he wants to be inspired, he arranges the music, the lighting, everything else for the screen with the produce, the effect, with the director can produce with the tragedy, with the comedy, with the out of the same event. Depending upon what is decided to put on the screen, you can do something within the screen of your mind, with the direct, with the mental activity, with the underpinning, with all the physical and action, with the same skill and power. You can turn up the light with the sound, with the power, with the messages in your brain. You can dim the picture sound with the negative ones. You can run with the brain skillfully with the Spielberg or the scores with the runs it's set. Something what follows will be hard to believe, but probably they don't believe. There's a way to look at a person knowing that his exact things, thoughts, and instantly summon up with most of the powerful resources at will. But you've suggested 100 years ago, men would go to the moon and you would have considered the bad man lunatic. Where do you think of the world came from? And if you said with the possible to travel to New York to Los Angeles in 5 hours, you would have seen like you were a crazy dreamer. But only take it with a mastery with the specific technologies, law with the aerodynamics to make the things possible. In fact, today, one aerospace company is working on a vehicle that say in 10 years will take people from New York to California in 12 minutes. Similar to this book, you will learn the laws of optimum performance technology and will give you the access of the resource that never realized you had. For every discipline, effort, and the multiple reward, Jim Robbins. People who have attained success, attain excellence, travel the consistent path of success. It's called the ultimate success formula. The first step of this formula is known with your outcome that is defined with precisely with what you want. The second step is to take action over the wires. If the desire was always a dream, you must take with the action, whether you believe with the create with the greater probability with the producing the result of your desire. With the actions we don't take, with the actions that we don't take always produce the results we desire. Actions we do take do not always take produce the results we desire. So the third step is to develop a sensory acuity to recognize the kind of response with the results you're getting with your actions, to know as quickly as possible the taking closer to your goals and farther away. You must know what you're getting from your actions, whether it be conversation from your daily habits in life. You will getting is not what you want. You need to know what the result of the actions have produced, so that it was learn every human experience. And when then you take in the fourth step, which is to develop flexibility to change the behavior until you get what you want. With the look successful people, if you look at successful people, you'll find them to follow these steps. And start with the target because you can hit one if you don't have one. You can't hit one if you don't have one. They took action because knowing isn't enough. They had ability to read others, to know what the response they're getting, the key adapting, with the key adjusting, and they kept changing their behavior until they found what worked. Consider Steven Spielberg. At age 36, he became the most successful filmmaker in history. He had already responsible for the 10 top grossing films of all time, including E.T. Extraterrestrial, and the highest grossing film ever. However, how did it reach the point at such an age isn't a remarkable story. From the age of 12 and 13, Spielberg knew he wanted to be a movie director with a life change, but took on the tour with the Universal Studios one afternoon when he was 17 years old, but the tour didn't quite make it at soundstage where all the action was. So Spielberg, knowing his outcome, took with the action. He snuck up off by himself with watching the film in a real movie. He ended up meeting the head of the Universal editorial department, who talked with him for an hour and expressed an interest in Spielberg's films. For most of the people, the story would have ended, but Spielberg wasn't like most people. That he had a personal power that he knew he wanted. He learned with the first visit, so he changed this approach the next day. He put on a suit and brought it along his father because loaded with only a sandwich and 2 candy bars with a return to the lot as if he belonged there. He strode perfectly past the guard gate. That day, he found the abandoned trailer using plastic letters, put Steven Spielberg, director, on the door. Then he went to spend his summer meeting directors, writers, and editors, lingering at the edge of the world that he craved, learning every conversation, observing the developing more and more sensory acuity about what world and movie making. Finally, at the age of 20, after becoming a regular on the lot, Steven showed the Universal modest film he had put together. He had offered 7 years of contract for the direct with a TV series. He made the dream come true. Did Spielberg follow the ultimate successful? He sure did. He specialized with the knowledge to know what he wanted. He took action and sensory acuity to know what the results he was getting with his actions and moving him closer to farther from his goal. He had a flexibility to change his behavior to get what he wanted. Virtually every successful person I know of does the same thing with the sea, with a committed, with a chain, with a blame, flexible until they create the life that they are desired. Consider Dean Barbara Black of the Columbia University School of Women envisioned herself to be Dean one day. As a young one, she broke with a predominantly male field, successfully obtained the law degree with the Columbia. So then decided to put her goal on hold while she created another goal, developing a family. 9 years later, she decided she was ready again to go after the first career goal, so she can enroll in the graduate program in Yale, develop teaching, researching, writing skills that led her to the job that she had always wanted. She had expanded her belief system. She had changed an approach, had combined both goals, and is now dean of one of the most prestigious law schools in America. She broke the mold, proved success, and could create the law levels simultaneously. Does she follow the ultimate successful formula? Of course she did. Knowing what she wanted, tried to do something. If it didn't work, she kept changing until she learned how to balance her life. And in addition, with the heading of the important law school, she's a mother, family woman as well. Here's another example. Every piece of the Kentucky Fried Chicken. Do you know that Colonel Sanders built an empire that made with a millionaire chain with the eating habits of the nation? When we started, that was nothing. Retiree with a fried chicken recipe. That's all with no organization, no nothing. His own with a little restaurant was going broke because the main highway has been routed elsewhere. When he goes to his first social security check, he decided to see whether he could make some money selling his chicken recipe. His first idea was to sell the recipe to restaurant owners and have them give him a percentage of the proceeds. Now, this is not necessarily the most realistic idea, but the beginning of the business, things turned out that it didn't exactly rocket into stardom. He drove it around in the country, sleeping in his car, trying to find someone who would back him up, and he kept with the change of the idea of the knocking on doors, and he rejected 1,009 times. Then something miraculous happened. Someone said yes. The colonel was the business. How many of you have the recipe? How many have the physical power, with the charisma, with the chunky old man, and with a white suit? Colonel Sanders made a fortune because he has the ability to take men's action, determine action from the personal power with the necessary to do the result of the most desired most. He has the ability to hear the word no 1,000 times and still communicate to himself in a way that gave him the knock on the next door, totally convinced that it could be one or where someone said yes. In one way or another, everything in it spoke for the direct with the tour of the providing the brain with the most effective within power to take successful action. Almost every week after they conduct a 4-day seminar called Mind Revolution, and seminary with the teach for the people everything from how to run their brain most effectively, how to eat, breathe, and exercise in the way of the maximize personal energy. First energy of the 4-day process is called with fear into power, with the designing seminar to teach people how to take action instead of being stopped by fear. At the end of the seminar, people are given the opportunity to walk on fire across 10 to 12 feet of burning coals in a advanced group that had been and walking across 40 feet of coals. The firewalk was fascinated the media to the point where the fear of the message is get lost. But the point is not to walk on fire. I think it's fair to assume that there is great economic social benefit to the game as a blissful stroll across the bed of whole hot coals instead of the firewalk and extreme of the personal power of the metaphor for the possibility of the opportunity for people to produce the result of the previously had thought and impossible. People have been doing some of the version of the firewalk with 1,000 years in some part of the world with the religious test of faith that one conduct with the firewalk is not part of the religious experience with the conventional sense, but is experienced in the belief of the teacher of the people, the most visceral sense that can change, that can grow with the change with them, to stretch themselves, that they can do things that never thought possible. The greatest fears, limitation, is self-imposed. The only difference between you can walk on fire with it now or not is the ability to communicate yourself in a way that causes you to take action in spite of all the past fear programming about what you should happen in lessons. The people that can do virtually anything, everything as long with the muster of the reach of the believer that they can take an affectionate action. What all leads to the simple and inescapable fact: success is not an action, but the difference between people who produce the positive result of those who do not some sort of random roll of the day, but the consistent logical patterns of the actions, specifically pathways to excellence. They are within the reach of us all. We can all unleash the magic within us. We simply must learn how to turn on and use our minds, bodies in the most powerful and adventurous ways. Have you ever wondered whether Spielberg and Springsteen might have in the common to John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King share of the cause of the effect that so many people, such with a deep and emotional way, what was said by the Ted Turner and Tina Turner, apart with the masses, with the meat of Pete Rose and Ronald Reagan? All of them have been with great get themselves to consistently take an effective action over the accomplishment of their dreams, and the what is that gets them the continuing day after day with everything that they've got into everything they do there, of course, of the manufacturers. However, they believe that there are 7 fundamental characteristics that have cultivated within themselves 7 characters that give the fire to do whatever it takes them to succeed. They are some of the basic triggering mechanisms that can ensure the success as well. Trait number 1 is passion. All people have to discover the reason for the consuming the energizing almost all of the purpose for the drive of them to grow and to be more, but that gives them the full fuel that powers the successful train, causing them to tap their true potential from the passion car for the Pete Rove with continually with dive headfirst into the second base of the SCV with a rookie playing his first major league game, and his passion sets the action of the Lee Ioshia, part of so many other, the passion drive of the computer scientists that have years of the dedication created with the kind of the breakthrough that have put people and men and women into the outdoors, brought them back, and the passion that causes the people to stay up late and to get up early with the passion people want in their relation. Passion that gives life power with the juice of the meaning and the no greater without passion, whether it be great, whether the aspiration of the athlete, of the artist, the scientist, a parent, or a businessman will discover how to unleash the inner force of the power of the goals in chapter 11. Trait number 2, the belief. Every religious book on the planet talks about the power and effect of the faith of the belief of the mankind. People who succeed at the major scale of the differ greatly in the belief of the who's who fail. Our beliefs about who we are, and who we can be, with the precisely determine what we will be, with the belief in the magic we live with, the magical life, with the belief of our life is defined with the narrow limits we suddenly make with the limited real. What belief is over the true belief, what belief to be true, with what belief is possible becomes with what's true, with it becomes what's possible. The book will provide with you with a specific scientific way to quickly change with your belief to show the support of the attainment of your most desired goals. Many people, the passion becomes limiting the belief about what you are and what they can do, with inevitably to take action they can do. Make a dream a reality. People that will succeed now with what they want and believe that they can get it, with learn about the beliefs and how to use them in chapter 4 and 5. Passion and belief that provide fuel for the propulsion towards excellence. The propulsion is not enough. If it were, would be enough to fuel the rocket with ascending and flying with a blind lead towards the heavens. Besides the power that we need a path with an intelligent sense of the logical progression that's to see the hitting or the target when we need. Trait number 3, strategy. The strategy way with the organizing resource with Steven Spielberg to decide whether to become the filmmaker with the map over the course of what to leave the world, what he wanted to conquer, figured out who he wanted to learn, whom he needed to know, what he needed to do. He had a passion, he had a belief, but also he had a strategy that made him things works greatest potential. Ronald Reagan developed a certain communication strategy that he uses on a consistent basis, produces the results he desires. Every greater entertainer, politician, parent with the employer knows not enough to have the resource to succeed, but one of the most resources, the most effective, the strategy, the recognition, the best talent, with the ambition. Also need to fight with the right avenue. You can open it with the door, breaking it down. You can find the key with the open, with the intact. You learn about the strategy, produce the excellence in chapter 7 and 8. Trait number 4, clarity of values. We think of the things we made with the American grid, with what we think of the things with the patriotism, pride, with the sense of the tolerance, love of the freedom, with the things with their value, with the fundamental, ethical, moral, with the practical judgment, make about the important, with the really matters. Values are specifically belief that what we have about with the right or wrong, with our life, with the judgments we make about with what makes life worth living. Many people don't have the clear idea of what's important to them. Other individuals things that happen afterward they are unhappy with themselves about simply because they are not clearly about what they unconsciously believe is right for them and the others. We look at with a great success, they almost always believe with a clear fundamental sense of about what the really man with the Ronald Reagan, John Kennedy, Martin Luther King Jr., John Wayne, Jane Fonda. They all have a different vision, but they have the commandment, fundamental moral grounding, sense of who they are, why do they do what they do. Understanding values is one of the most rewarding, challenging keys of achieving excellence. Will consider the value in the chapter 18. As you probably notice, all of the traits feed on with the interacting with the one with another, the passion, effect, with the belief, of course, if it is, the more we believe that he accomplished something, the more we're usually willing to invest its achievement and believe that itself is enough to achieve the excellence with a good start. By everything you believe that you're going to for the sunrise strategy for the achievement goal is to be running west. We have some of the difficulty with the strategy suggested effective by our values. You bet. If your strategy success requires you to do things that you do not fit unconsciously believe that what is right with the wrong in your life, that even with the being strategy will not work. This is often seen with individuals who begin with a seed only with the end of the step changing their own success. The problem is there's internal conflict between the individual values and strategy for the achievement. In the same way, all 4 things were already considered as inseparable form. Trait number 5, energy. Energy can be thundering joyous. It can be met with a boosting with a teen or turning. They can be having an internal dynamicism of Donald Trump and Steve Jobs. It can be vitality of Ronald Reagan and Katharine Hepburn. It almost impossible to amble languorously toward the excellent, pipe of the excellence of the tour, and take an opportunity to shape them the life that is possessed. Warnest opportunities of each day with the recognition one thing that no one else have out of this time. There are many people of the world who have passion that they believe that not have the strategy to ensure that their values align with it, just to have the physical vitality to take action with greatest inseparable physical, intellectual, spiritual energy that allows them to make almost all of what we have. In chapter 9 and 10 we'll learn ability to tie up tool that can immediately increase physical vibrancy. Trait number 6, bonding power. Nearly all of the successful people have the common extraordinary ability to bond with others, or the ability to connect with others, or when to develop with rather rapport with people from the variety of the backgrounds and beliefs. So there's occasion with a man of genius who wins something to change the world, but with a genius spends all of the time lonely and worn. He will succeed only in one level, but fail when there are many others. The great success of the Kennedys, the King of the Reagan, the Gandhis, all have the ability to find when the Gandhis have the ability to find when they unite with the millions for the others. The greatest success is not the stage of the world, it is the deepest recess of your own heart. The deep down, everyone needs to form a lasting, loving bonds with others. Without any success, any excellence for the hollow. Indeed, we'll learn about the bonds of chapter 13. Failing okay trait, something that we talked about earlier. Trait number 7, the mastery of the communication, the essence of what this is about, the way we want to communicate with the others, the way we communicate with ourselves, and ultimately determine the quality of our lives. People who succeed in life are those who learn how to take with the challenges of the life that give them and communicate with the experience with themselves, the way with the cause of the successful changed things. People who fail to take the diversity of life, they accept them in limitation. The people who shape our life with the cultures, also with the master for the communication over the will, have the commonness and ability to communicate a vision and quest for the joy of the mission. With the mastery, communication is what we make with the grandparent, or greatest artist, or greatest politician, greatest teacher. Almost every chapter in this book, in one way or another, has to do with the communication of the bridge gap, the building of the new past. With sharing new vision. The first part of this book will teach you how to take the charge of the run When your own brain, with the body, with effectively than they ever before, with the working, with effect, with the way, with the communicate with yourself. With the second section will be with the how to discover that you really want out of life, and how you can communicate more effectively. With others as well, with how to become and anticipate with the kind of the behavior, the different kinds of the people, with the consistently create. With the third section looks to be from a larger global perspective. It's how we behave, with what motivates, with what we contribute on a broader extra personal level. It's about taking skill that you learn and becoming a leader. When I wrote this book, my original goal was to provide with a textbook for the human. The development of the book would really be packed with the best and the latest human changing technology. I wanted to aim for the skill and strategy that would enable the change within, wanted to change within into do with the faster than the dream as before. I wanted to create an opportunity for you with the area of the concrete with immediately increase the quality of the life experience, but I also wanted to create with the world work that would come back again and again and again always and find something useful for the life. And I knew that many of the subjects I could write about, but they could be books on themselves. However, I wanted to give you the information that these was complete something that you could use in such each area, and I would hope to find this book to be all these things for you. When this manuscript was completed, the advance ratings were very positive, except for the one thing several people said, you've got two books here, why don't you split them up into one, publish one now, market the other one, a follow-up, and 12 months later. My goal was getting the reader, as much quality information as quickly as I could. Don't you want to dull with the other skills at peacetime? However, I become concerned that many people would not even give the parts of the book that I most importantly simply because they explain to me. Several studies have shown that at least less than 10% of the people who buy the book read the first chapter. Over the first, I cannot believe the statistic. Then I remember less than 3% of the nation financially independent, less than 10% have the written goals, and only 35% of the American women, even fewer men, feel that they are in good physical shape. But many state that out of every two marriages at the end of them divorce, only a small percentage of the people really live in life and live their dreams and what it takes effort to consistent action. Bunker Hunt, the Texas oil billionaire who asked once if he had only one piece of advice he could give people how to succeed. He said, success is simple. First, you decide you want specifically, and second, you decide you're willing to pay the price to make it happen, and then pay the price. And if you don't take with the second step, you never have the what you want with the long term. I'd like to call people who know that they want and are willing to pay the price, but then a few who do versus the many of the who talk. I'll challenge you to play with this material, to read all, share what you learn, and enjoy it. In this chapter, I've stressed primacy with the taking effect of the action, but there are many ways to take action. Most of them depend on a large degree of the trial and error. Most people who have they get greater success are just readjusted the countless times before, but they got to what they wanted with the trial and error is fine, except for the one thing. It's useful quantity of the one resource that none of us are willing to ever have enough of, and that's time. Whereas the way to take action, accelerated learning, and that could show how to learn with a precise lesson. The people of excellence have already learned what I can learn in minutes. Where someone that took a year for the perfect, this is what we do in something called modeling, a way to reproduce precisely excellence for the other. What do they do at the step of they apart them? Only with the dreams and success. Let's discover. Chapter 2, the difference that makes the difference.